Hi, this is Trang and Joel with another episode of Ask Ron. I'm Trang and this is Joel.
Yeah, Ron and his lovely bride are taking an RV trip around the country, so we're filling in today, about ready to go do some wakeboarding, so we thought we'd knock out these questions for all of Ron's family. So, what do you got, Trang?
Well, the first question comes from Tom Phelan from Miami, Florida. I was considering creating a single member LLC in Florida, but I've been told by a Nevada lawyer that this will not shield me from personal liability. He said I would have to create a multi-member Florida LLC for insulation or a single member LLC created in Nevada. Naturally, I'm skeptical because he is trying to sell me his services. I am in Miami. Can anyone recommend a Florida lawyer for me to verify this as well as help me with my closings?
Well, we know that if you want to get a lawyer in Florida, the best place to do that is at your local REI. You'll find a whole slew of various people that you can work with, and usually you can find a good investor-friendly attorney there as well. As far as your question on a single member LLC or multi-member LLC, your personal assets are protected by either entity, and I will give the Nevada attorney the benefit of the doubt, being that my corporation and attorneys are in Nevada, and say that what he probably meant to say is that there's a difference between your company's assets needing insulation and your personal assets needing insulation. For example, your personal assets aren't at risk in either entity when you're doing business as an entity. However, your company assets, if you were to go personally bankrupt or go through a big divorce and you only held that entity as a single person, perhaps your ex-spouse could have a claim to a portion of the company and you could lose some of those assets. Whereas if it's a multiple person entity, then there might be an operating agreement that defines what happens in those types of situations. So I wouldn't worry about it. I actually operate as a single person Nevada entity and I feel pretty comfortable with it and think you should be okay with it as well. But get advice from an attorney. Don't listen to some guy who's about to go shred up the lake wakeboarding on that topic anyway.
All right, our next question is from Gail Greenberg from Melrose Park, Pennsylvania. I can't seem to get a straight answer on this from anyone around me, and none of the tax or legal professionals I ask seem to know. If I buy a property and rehab it using my IRA money and I want to keep it as a rental, can I then get a mortgage on it and finance my IRA out? There's a few more questions with this. Is this self-dealing? 2, will I be able to get a mortgage if I have a good credit score but no income? 3, do I have to wait some period of time after the house has been rented to apply for the mortgage? 4, if I buy the house originally in the name of my IRA, what name should it go in when I put the mortgage on? If it's different, will I pay transfer tax and closing costs? 5, what type of lenders would consider making such a loan to me? And finally, you've said it's better for your IRA to buy an option on a property than the property itself. Where can I find out more about how to do that and what paperwork is required?
This is from Gail?
This is from Gail.
Gail, a great list of questions. Your new nickname is Machine Gun Gail, because that is a lot of questions for a guy to remember. But I'll tell you the first thing is this, is we take title to properties in land trusts. If you want your IRA to be the beneficial interest of the land trust, that can be arranged. Or if you want an entity to be the beneficial interest of a land trust, that can be arranged. But as far as who owns the property, as far as the public is concerned, XXYY as trustee owns the property. And you're actually correct, or the advice you got is correct, that you cannot sell the property to yourself, as that would be self-dealing. And I can tell from the questions that you're excited, energetic, ready to move forward, but you probably haven't spent a whole lot of time in Ron's world, because if you spent time in Ron's world, you'd know without a shadow of a doubt that we don't go out and get bank loans. We don't go out and use our own credit and use our own money very frequently to buy properties. So if you're needing to refinance money that you've put into a home through your IRA, you'd use a private lender because it would have to be a non-recourse loan to begin with. You wouldn't be able to get a bank loan. And without income, it's unlikely in this day and age that you would anyway. There is a whole world out there of private money, especially when you have banks talking about negative interest rates, if you can imagine that, or pathetic low interest rates and low yield that people can get. People are willing to lend money if it's secured by real estate, and you can find them. And the best way to do that, if you're not a member of the Gold Club already, is to use the resources within the Gold Club. An absolute plethora of information is in there. I find myself trying to access it just about every single day for one thing or another, and you'll be able to get a lot of answers to these questions because I can't go through that many questions at one time because I don't even remember all of them. Although I do remember the last part of your question. Do you want to use an option versus actually tying up cash, so to speak, from your IRA? You can do both. I think what you're referring to is if you go get an option contract and you put a deposit down and the option is owned by the IRA, you can then assign that option and create exponential returns because your IRA made the difference between the $10, the $100, whatever you put up as an option deposit, and then whatever the assignment fee is that the IRA collects. So using options in an IRA is a great way to build wealth within your IRA and then not have to pay taxes on it. And if it's a traditional until after you take it out, and if it's a Roth, you're buying with after-tax money anyway. And that's the way to do it, actually. And you can build phenomenal wealth that way. So hopefully that covered it, Gail.
Okay.
What's next?
Our next question is from Renee Radovich from Isla, Georgia. She says, I'm buying a house on RAP and we're going to use escrow serve for payment. I will then sell with a lease option. I know I need landlord insurance and to pay taxes, but seller's underlying mortgage company is already collecting money for taxes and insurance. How do we handle this? Seller asks mortgage company to quit collecting escrow or what? I assume seller should also be additional insured on my landlord policy as my mortgage holder. I meant, should seller ask his mortgage company to quit collecting escrow? Not quick. His loan is over 10 years old and LTV is 75%, if that makes a difference.
I think I got the gist of that. You're actually quite right. That's exactly what you do, is you ask your seller to remove the escrow if you feel like you really need to do that. Keep in mind, it's not going to hurt you. You have to have enough money coming in order to pay that escrow. But as far as switching the insurance around, which is I think the real spirit of your question, that's precisely what you do. You will name your seller as additional insured, and the best way to do that I found is to use Affinity, which I think is affiliated with Chuck Juergens, and he should be in the Rolodex on the Gold Club. Just so many resources in the Gold Club. In fact, there's actually a template letter that you can give your seller to send to the bank to have the escrow requirement released, especially based on the loan to value ratio that you stated. So you are right on target. And again, I encourage you, go into the Gold Club and use these resources. You probably didn't even know there's a letter written for you right there. You get so much value for the money in the Gold Club. What's next?
All right, we have Bruce Quinn from Redbud, Illinois. When doing business in multiple states, do I need to form LLC in each state?
The answer to that question is no, you do not need to do that. A LLC is actually a federal entity. You get a federal tax ID number and you can operate in any of the states. There are different fees that are associated with different states and domiciling your entity in that state. I choose Nevada. Nevada is extremely corporate friendly, and it doesn't prevent me from doing business in Chicago or doing business in other states, Missouri, wherever I want to go. I can do business as a Nevada entity.
All right, we have Dustin Hughes from Kingwood, Texas. He asked, I recall that you teach us to use an LLC to own the self-directed IRA, but I would like your help on this due to an attempt I made today to do so and was told it is not possible. So I called Jay Connor's recommended company, Equity Trust Incorporated, when I said, how can I structure the account to be owned by my LLC? And the nice fella helping me said that this is just not possible. So, not to drag it out, can you give some advice how to overcome this issue? Or should I really be concerned? Should I use a different company, or should I stop asking questions? just adding that one to keep a light humor.
Well, I think you succeeded in adding the light humor. This topic is really about repetition. It takes a while to understand the appropriate structure to make life easier when you're investing in a high volume of real estate. And I don't want to be a broken record on the Gold Club, but Ron has a fantastic video on that goes into great length. But the reason I say it's about repetition is because you actually got it wrong. Ron never said to have your LLC own the IRA. Your LLC can't own the IRA. That is not correct. However, your IRA can own an LLC. The difference is that the managing member of the LLC cannot have the check writing privileges, and frankly that's the reason to do it, because you have to go through a little bit of a hassle, not too big of a hassle, but a little bit of a hassle with these custodians to pay bills. You have to be at arm's length. You can't be the one paying the bills. So you set up the LLC to receive money and distribute money, and you avoid a little bit of the headache that can occur sometimes. So a great topic, one of my favorite topics. Ron does such a phenomenal job explaining this, and there's a video somewhere in the Gold Club. You just got to find it. It's like panning for gold, because there's so much in there that sometimes you don't know where to look. But use that search engine, enter some of the keywords there, and I think you'll probably come up with a great video on it.
All right, last we have Vivian Williams Farnsworth from Spanaway, Washington. I received a call on my yellow letter campaign from a lady that wants to sell me her house that needs a lot of work. Asking price is $300,000. It's 3,534 square foot, 4x2. ARV at $607,000. The house is in very nice area with other large houses around it. Repairs needed, $100,000 plus. I want to make at least $50,000 on this deal. My question is, what paperwork do I send here? Standard P&S with a 90-day closing period, or a lease option with a 90-day closing period, or what? Thanks, Ron.
Well, it's the greatest compliment I could ever be received, Trang, calling me Ron. But I'm not worthy of that. But I will say I'm not quite clear. What's her name again?
Vivian.
Vivian, I'm not quite clear if you're saying you have a deal or you're trying to structure an offer. It sounds like you're trying to structure an offer. My suggestion is to try to get the deal first, understand what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do. And it sounds to me like this is going to be a purchase and sale agreement almost for sure. It also sounds to me like you're looking to act this deal, because you're asking for 90 days or asking about a 90-day escrow period. Usually we would only do that if we have the intent of locating our buyer before we actually go in and close. So it's really a matter of what kind of deal you can structure with this seller. If the terms are good enough, then go ahead and close. But if you don't have the cash, it'll be that much easier to find the buyer within those 90 days, and then you can fund your purchase with the buyer's proceeds. But the good news is, if you're trying to act, you can be a lot more flexible on the terms, because you don't have to get a super killer deal. You just have to mention to the seller that, look, your terms are just a little bit too rich for what I want to do to close right now, but I got a whole list of buyers who may be willing to accept your terms. Let me go ahead and write that deal up the way you want it. Understand that when the buyer comes, when we have a bird in the hand, we may have to renegotiate it, but I'll go out to my stack of buyers and see if we can find somebody. And when we do, if it's more than what we've agreed to here, I'll keep the difference. If not, then we'll work something out. That's fair, isn't it? And most people will go ahead and do that, and you can offer the flexibility of structuring the deal in a way that works for them so that you have the asset. And I want everyone to understand that when you get a contract, you have an asset, because now you have something to sell. You don't have to get the perfect deal in terms of price and in terms of down payment and in terms of interest or whatever right from the get-go. You just have to know you have a flexible seller, and then you have the ability to go out and sell that contract for money. So the objective is to get the contract. And I'm encouraged by the fact that you're out talking to sellers. Guys, you got to talk to sellers. Don't be a baby. Talk to the sellers and you will get these kinds of deals. So with that, I want to encourage you to get on this Gold Club, folks. This Gold Club is an unbelievable treasure trove of information, and I can't tell you how much it's helped me. So hopefully you'll have the same experience. All right, well, Trang, have a nice evening, and the rest of you do as well. We're going wakeboarding, baby. Time to shred. Peace.